Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock. We'd like to welcome you to the Virginia Gas and Oil Board meeting for today. It's February 20th, 2024. And I'm Bill Harris. I'll be chairing today's meeting. I'd like the other board members who are present to introduce themselves, starting with Ms. Quillen to my far right.
Mary Quillen.
Rita Surratt, public member.
I'm Bill Harris, a public member.
Gus Jansen, public member.
Willie Cochran, Virginia Energy.
Okay. And I'd like to indicate that we do have a quorum here present, but we do have some other members who are not in attendance. And I do have their remote attendance sheet. So what I would like to do is to read the information from that. We do have Bruce Prather. Bruce, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Bruce desires to participate remotely due to his principal residence located being more than 60 miles. And he is present on the line. He has indicated to me that he is unable to attend today because of the remote location. Is there any objection from the present committee that he not participate? Are we okay with that?
I'll give you
Okay.
a motion to approve.
Yes.
I'll give you a motion to approve.
Okay, we do have a, is there a second?
Second.
Fine, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, we do approve that remote participation. And so we will allow that. Thank you, Mr. Prather, for that form. We also have Donnie Ratliff, who is, who has applied also for remote participation. And Donnie, are you with us today? I think he was going to call in. And I
I think
don't,
he's trying to. He's
yeah.
sending me a message.
Donnie usually at this time of the year is participating in the Virginia Assembly.
Hey, maybe he got the wrong number like I did.
I'm going to just make sure.
Okay, we'll give him a minute or two to get. Should we go ahead and go forward and then have him?
He's working on it.
We'll go ahead and do.
I think-
We'll go ahead and approve him if he gets in. I'll
Well,
go ahead
yeah.
and make the motion to approve Mr. Ratliff if he joins us.
Okay, I don't know if that's premature, but okay, once we do have a quorum to go forward, and we did ratify we did have a motion that was successfully passed to allow Mr. Prather something we need to. Oh, okay, we're checking on that. Okay, folks, I think we do have a successful motion that we can allow Mr. Prather to participate. And we did determine that his remote attendance resolution was properly sent in and approved. So I think we're okay with that. So we'll just go ahead and proceed from that. And when we hear from Mr. Ratliff, we'll go ahead and approve that as well. But we do have a quorum to proceed forward. So we'll go ahead and proceed. The board will receive public comment. Did we have anyone listed for public comment? Okay, hearing none and seeing none, we'll proceed on. The First Bank and Trust Company escrow agent for the Virginia Gas and Oil Board will appear to address the board for the quarterly / end of year report. We'd invite those people to come forward with that report.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. This is our fourth quarter report. This is also our end of the year report. We'll start out on page 3. This is a summary for the fourth quarter and end of the year. We started out fourth quarter, October the 1st, with $5,183,921.70. We had deposits of $25,185.25. We earned interest of almost the same amount, $24,754.22. Deducted fees for the quarter, $5,184.19. We paid out distributions of $58,474.90, leaving us an ending balance at 12/31 of $5,170,202.08. In 2023, on page 4, we had processed 8 treasury dockets totaling $2,970.78, 23 normal dockets of $166,400.58. We'd issued over 400 checks this year, and they ranged from 7 cents to $28,707.70. 239 of those checks were less than $100, and 36 of those checks were less than $1. Starting at page 5, these are all of our outstanding checks as of the end of the year. I know this is a very long list, so bear with me. It goes through page 22. So at the end of the year, we had a little over $82,000 outstanding checks. And if you'll notice on page 22, the last few were issued in November of 23. So those are not terribly old, but these are everything that's issued as of the end of the year. Starting on page 23, this will be what is escheated for 2024 if we've had no communication with these people in the last 5 years. And that list is kind of long too, and I know that each gas company is working on their list. The dollar amount is not a lot. It's only $7,311, but it's a lot of people with small dollar checks. On page 30, this is our balance sheet. So this lists each individual account number and what is in it, who it belongs to, the beginning balance, the deposits that were received. This is just for the month of December. The money market it received for the month, any CDARS interest, fees deducted, any distributions from those accounts, if we transferred anything to the No W-9 spreadsheet, audit costs, corrections, and their ending market value broken out by each individual account. Starting on page 38, this is the list of No W-9s, individual names broken out by their docket number. And this is a long list as well. It has 433 lines on it. Not necessarily 433 names, but 433 individual lines that these people just need to submit their W-9 to the gas company, and the gas company send it to me, and we can pay these people directly. So there's a little over $41,000 held in this account for the people that need to submit their W-9s.
If I might ask a question, are the reasons here the same as they were before? People get a letter from the government or from an agency and they just don't pick it up thinking it's I mean, I don't know if we know why they don't pick them up, but they get something with a return receipt and they decide not to go to the post office because they're afraid it's a tax lien or something?
It very well could be.
Okay.
And
Thank
the
you. I'm
gas
sorry.
company sends out, the gas company sends those out, return receipts. So a lot of these were prior Intervest dockets. There's a few on there for CNX Pocahontas Gas, and those are because the person has passed away generally. When the docket was issued, they returned their receipt, and then they passed away, so we're waiting on the heirs to submit their W-9s.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yep, go ahead. Fine. So a little over 41,000 sitting in that account, and it's still earning interest as well, and that's broken out by each individual person. Page 50 is a total of the distributions, the income that we have received, the distributions that we've paid out, broken down by each year since First Bank and Trust became the escrow agent. Page 51 is the investment of the funds as of the December 31st. We had $3 million in ICS money market account, and then $2 million in CDs that are coming due this July. And the CDs ranged from 5.25% to 5.3%, up to 5.5 was the highest that we received in interest on those. Rate comparisons, this is broken down by 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and 2 years, based on what it was at the last VGOB board meeting that we were at, and current rates. This was current as of January the 4th. So those are a little outdated numbers now. And then again, the last page is the CD rates, and these were as of the January meeting that was canceled. So these numbers are a little outdated now too. So we had, at the time, 3-month CDs that ranged from 4.85 to 5.1, all the way up to 2-year CDs that ranged from 4.1 to 4.65. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from board members?
Any interest in increasing the amount of CDs that you have? These will come due in July, and there's still $3 million cash.
Okay, let me indicate, let's see, we have another meeting. Let's see, do we have another report? Let's see, July is when, well, I'm trying to think. I just saw Donnie there. I'm thinking we probably need to get him on board. Let's do that. I don't mean to interrupt, but in case Donnie has a question about the rates, let's go ahead and get him admitted. Then we're all legal, if you will. So let me just interrupt you just for a quick second and get Donnie on. We did indicate earlier that we do have an approved, we do have the form from him for the requesting approval for the remote attendance. Do we have a motion? And we did indicate that he was attending the General Assembly meetings in Richmond. Do I have a motion relative to his resolution approving that? Okay, fine. Second, okay, all in favor, say yes. Yes, opposed, no. Fine, yeah, that has been approved, and again, we do ratify his determination for meeting that requirement. So, Donnie, welcome.
Thank you. We'll have another board presentation in May, will we not?
Yeah, that was my question. And then I thought, well, since you were there, I'd go ahead and get you on board. Yeah, that was my question. We would have another meeting before the July, I guess, report from the bank.
That's what I'm thinking. It would be, this is
Yeah.
February, so March, April, May.
Yeah,
And then she can update the CD rates, so we can see what we're dealing with. But
would that be an appropriate time?
Sure.
Okay,
We may actually have two meetings before these CDs
May.
mature. So let's see, I would come back for first quarter in April, assuming that you would have the meeting then. And then second quarter would be the end of June report, so it would fall around the time these CDs are coming due.
Okay.
Well, then, in that case, is there something we should be doing? Would you just say 3 million? That's
That's the money market.
That's three.
And want to look at whether the balance, what the rates are, and how they compare. Because they have fluctuated over the last several months, the CDs and the money market. And money's been a little bit better. And these, so we might want to consider that.
so you're suggesting, I'm just wondering, should we keep things as they are for the next?
And
3 months?
that would be my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
I think so. We'll have at least one more meeting, maybe two. And then she can update the yields on the percentages and we can see what we've got. But
So the suggestion is leave things as they are for right now until we get an update the next, certainly before July.
yes, but they
Yeah.
don't mature until July of 24. So we're
Correct.
in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can compare those to see what the growth is on the CDs and the money market. Like I said, right now, money market has been better.
Yeah, yeah. That's fine. Any other discussion? Anything else?
No, as usual, she's done an outstanding job.
Yeah, we do certainly. Thank you very much for this report. And we look forward to our continued working with you all. Anything else from the
Absolutely.
board? Okay, again, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. Okay, and one thing I forgot to mention, if you would mute your phones, I meant to mention that at the outset. If you would turn off your phones and mute, we are recording the meeting and that does, the recording does pick that up. So those of you who are present or online, I know it's kind of hard to do if you're speaking, but anyway, if you would. Okay, we'll move into the main items then. We have a petition from Key Rock Energy LLC for creation of a sealed gob drilling unit and pooling unit and pooling. The unit is Honeycamp number 1. Docket number is BGOB 23-1219-4279. We'd ask all parties who wish to speak to this unit or speak to this petition to please come forward.
Yes, sir. Freddie Mullins appearing on behalf of Key Rock Energy, and I also have Morgan Pate from Key Rock appearing with me.
Okay, fine. Anyone else? Okay, there appear to be no others, so you may go ahead and proceed.
Mr. Pate, can you please state your name for the board, please?
Morgan,
He needs to be sworn in.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Mr. Pate, do you swear and affirm that your testimony is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you can proceed.
Mr. Pate, can you please state your name for the board, please?
Morgan Pate.
And how are you employed?
I'm a geologist for Key Rock Energy.
All right. And is Key Rock Energy LLC authorized to conduct business in the Commonwealth of Virginia?
Yes,
And there's bond on file with this department, is that correct?
yes,
And you're familiar with the application for Honeycamp number 1?
yes, sir.
And this is for a coal bed methane well, is that correct?
Yes,
And this unit is located in the Nora Coalbed gas field.
Yes,
And how many acres does it contain?
794 approximately.
And can you explain to the board what Key Rock plans to do if this application is granted?
We will drill into the abandoned sealed gob area of Deep Mine 26 at the Honey Camp location for gas and flare that for environmental credits.
And so you'll be drilling directly into the seam, is that correct?
Yes, the mined out seam,
And what seam is that?
the lower banner.
All right. And have you obtained leases for a portion of this unit?
Yes,
And are those leases from the Intervest entities?
yes, sir.
And how is Intervest informed of this proceeding?
Certified mail, return receipt requested.
And to the best of your knowledge, has the notice with that associated documentation been filed with this board?
Yes,
And as a result of those leases, what percentage does Key Rock currently have under lease?
55.44.
And so that would mean that there's 44.46% left unleased. Is that correct?
Yes,
Do you know what percentage of those owners are unknown?
2.39%.
And how were these unknown unleased owners informed of the proceeding?
Notice by publication in the Dickinson Star.
And any other unleased owners, they were also provided notice by order of publication?
Yes,
What percentage of the unit are you seeking to pool today?
100%.
And are you requesting that the board pool the interest of all the parties listed on Exhibit B of this application?
Yes,
And are you requesting the board establish a procedure where all parties listed on Exhibit B3 have the right to one of the three options listed on the application?
yes.
And what lease terms would you be offering these unleased owners?
Those identical to the lease terms we secured with Intervest.
And what is that? Is that 12.5% royalty?
Yes,
And what is the proposed depth of this well?
about 530 feet,
And can you give the board an idea of the estimated reserves?
about 350 MMCF over 10 years.
And you're familiar with the projected well cost in this petition as well?
Yes,
And did you participate in the preparation of the AFE file with this application?
yes.
And what is the estimated dry hole cost?
Approximately $180,000.
And are you asking the board to create a sealed gob drilling unit and to pool that unit?
Yes,
And a portion of that pooling would be voluntary. Those would be the Intervest leases,
yes,
and a portion involuntary.
correct.
And are you asking the board to name Key Rock Energy as the operator for this unit?
Yes,
And in your opinion, if the board were to grant the application today, would it prevent waste, promote conservation, and protect correlative rights?
yes.
That'd be all the questions that I'd have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
So if I'm clear on this, you have a lease with Intervest for this acreage,
Yes, sir.
but you're also pooling them.
Yes, sir. That's what.
When you pay them directly into your lease terms with them, do you need to pool them?
Well, we have on the previous leases. It's up to the discretion of the board how you wish us to proceed.
Sure, if we actually pool people who are
Well,
leased.
Well,
Staff weigh in on that, do we?
one of the problems that we have, if you'll remember, is that we have entities, not in this particular well, but if we have entities that have entered into a lease with Intervest, we had to pull them even though a lease existed.
Okay, so they may have other leases.
Yes, sir.
That's what you're saying. That's
Yes,
a
sir.
different situation there then. So you've identified those people also
Yes, sir.
in this application.
These are the people that are listed. There are no leases with us.
Right. So can you just maybe describe your leasing efforts a little bit, what you did for the due diligence side to lease any of these unleased parties?
You mean any parties outside of Intervest?
Correct.
We've identified them via title and surface ownership, and I have spoken with, I want to say 10 or so of the interested parties, and we have discussed leasing. And for those that I have spoken with, they have, and we have internally opted to simply pool them. And part of the reason for that, with at least two of the gentlemen I spoke with, was that if we had an existing lease with them, it would also imply that we had the rights to drill on their surface. And they would rather be pooled without those rights as opposed to leasing.
But where you are drilling, you do have the rights to drill.
We own that surface,
Drill that
correct?
surface. So there's no issue there.
I have not spoken with all the people inside this unit.
So we're assuming everyone's been notified. Did you do that by certified mail to provide for the?
Yes, sir. On the addresses that are provided in the application, they were all sent notice via certified
You
mail.
didn't receive any input back from those people about wanting to lease prior to this hearing?
The phone calls that I received, Mr. Jansen, we answered their questions and I referred them to Mr. Pate and told them if they were interested in leasing, they need to speak to him.
One other question on the cost of the well on your AFE. My understanding that you use a skid mounted production unit that you place on this that actually does the methane destruction. That cost is not included in the AFE for that facility, I can tell. So you're not passing that cost on to anyone who did want to participate in the well. That cost will not be passed on to those people. It would just be the cost of the actual drilling the site completion.
Correct. And I think the reason for that being, as of now, we don't know what we will encounter when we drill into the mine. It could be flooded or it could have gas.
Sure.
And also, some of the equipment that we would use on this site might have already been purchased. It might come from an existing site that's shutting down.
Sure. No problem. Just want to make sure when it was clear whether that was the cost that we passed on to the participating
No, this is just the,
person that wanted
this is-
to state.
just to get into the mine.
Thank you.
Other questions from board members? Okay, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. The board operates on a motion.
Motion to approve.
Fine,
Second.
fine. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of, the motion is for approval. All in favor of, approval of this petition, say yes. Or I guess we ought to poll the board. Let's do that.
Mrs. Quillen,
Yes.
Mrs. Surratt,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Jansen,
Yes.
Mr. Cochran,
Yes.
Mr. Prather,
Yes,
So
Yeah.
Mr. Ratliff.
I abstain.
Fine, that, petition is passed or accepted, so we'll move on. Okay, the next item, which is number 5 on your list, petition from Key Rock Energy LLC for creation of a seal gob drilling unit and pooling. The unit is Key Rock M-26-1. The docket number is VGOB 24-0220-4280. We'd also ask all parties who wish to speak to this petition to please come forward.
Freddie Mullins on behalf of Key Rock Energy, and I'll be calling Morgan Pate as my witness in this matter, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any others?
No, sir.
Okay, I think those are the only two, so you may go ahead and proceed.
And I think he's previously been sworn.
Yes, okay.
All right.
We'll show that. Fine, go ahead.
All right, Mr. Pate, can you please state your name and how you're employed?
Morgan Pate, geologist for Key Rock Energy.
And is Key Rock Energy LLC authorized to conduct business in the Commonwealth of Virginia?
Yes,
And is there a bond on file with this department concerning Key Rock Energy?
yes,
And you're familiar with the application for unit Key Rock M-26-1?
yes, sir.
And this is for a coal bed methane well, correct?
Yes,
And this unit is located in the Nora coal bed gas field?
yes.
And can you tell the board how many acres it contains?
Approximately 816 acres.
And can you tell the board what Key Rock plans to do if this petition is granted?
We will drill into an abandoned gob area in Deep Mine 26 for the purpose of flaring gas to generate environmental credits, offset credits.
And this seam that you'll be drilling into, can you tell the board what seam that is?
It's the lower banner.
All right. And has Key Rock obtained leases for a portion of this unit?
Yes.
And who are those with?
Intervest,
And how is Intervest informed of this proceeding?
certified mail.
And has Key Rock provided notice of that certified mailing to this board?
Yes.
What about those that were unleased? How are they provided notice?
Notice in Dickinson Star.
Along with certified mailings?
Yes.
All right. And what percentage of the unit does Key Rock Energy currently have under lease as a result of the Intervest leases?
79.7%.
All right. And so the percentage that Key Rock doesn't have under lease is at 20.23%?
Yes.
And do you know the percentage of the unknown owners?
About 0.37.
All right. And what percentage of the unit are you seeking to pool today?
100%.
And are you requesting that the board pool the interest of all the parties listed on Exhibit B?
Yes.
And are you requesting that the board establish a procedure where all parties listed on Exhibit B3 have the right to participate through one of the enumerated options?
Yes.
And what lease terms are you offering these unleased owners?
Those identical to Intervest, 12.5% royalty.
All right. And what is the proposed depth of this well?
About 370 feet.
Do you have an estimate on the reserves?
About 340 MMCF over the first 10 years.
And you're familiar with the projected well cost, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you help prepare the AFE file with this application?
Yes.
And what's your estimated dry hole cost?
Approximately 155,000.
And are you asking the board to create a sealed gob drilling unit and to pool that unit?
Yes.
And a portion of that pooling would be voluntary?
Yes, sir.
Those would be the Intervest leases?
Yes.
And a portion involuntary?
Yes.
And are you asking the board to name Key Rock as the operator for this unit?
Yes.
And in your opinion, if the board were to grant your application today, would it prevent waste, promote conservation, and protect correlative rights?
Yes, sir.
That would be our evidence, Mr. Chair.
Okay, question from board members.
Just one question I probably should have asked it on the first one as you heard. It's my understanding that this board had asked Key Rock to proceed with an application and permitting for the existing project that they have on the Deep Mine 26 area.
Yes, sir.
Could you give us an update on that status of that?
Mr. Jansen,
Skipped over, we're doing some new ones without doing that one.
if we could we defer that until after we have questions of the board on how to proceed with that matter? If we could defer that until after this particular application.
Sure, that's no problem.
Okay, any other questions?
Oh, one other one I noticed here on your Exhibit B and your B3, track 20, you identify the Brinks Company, but you don't have a designation that they are the gas owner. Are they the gas owner, or is there some conflict going on that one? All the other tracks are identified with the gas owner.
They are the gas owner, Mr. Jansen.
Is that something we need to have corrected on there, Sarah, that they are the gas owner?
Yes, I'll work with Mr. Mullins on that.
Excuse me, where was that?
On page 20, and again, they're track 3, track 20.
It's a big one.
Get the PTS. PTS, okay. Oh, the Brinks, okay.
Yeah, they're not
Oh, but it
designated.
doesn't say, yeah, okay. Okay. Think they would be. Okay. Any further questions from the board? Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. The board will entertain a motion relative to this petition.
Motion to
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion before we vote? Okay, the motion is for approval. Would you care to poll the board?
Mrs. Wheeler,
yes.
Mrs. Surratt,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Jansen,
Yes.
Mr. Cochran,
Yes.
Mr. Prather,
Yes,
and Mr. Ratliff.
I abstain.
Okay, that motion passed, so that petition has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jansen, I understand you have questions about the previous existing well. And we have talked to staff as far as the petition that we would bring in front of the board. It's going to be an unusual petition, and I'll give you an example. There's actually not going to be a well boring. Mr. Pate can describe more accurately than I can of the physical nature, but it's essentially a pipe coming out of the coming
I
out.
understand it's the old air shaft associated with the mine.
It's the actual mine slope.
Yeah.
And so they, put two PVC pipes in the slope, one on the slope bottom, one on the top, and then they stack concrete blocks in front of it and then push dirt off. We are pulling gas from the PVC pipe that's coming out of the top of the mine slope.
Okay.
So there's no AFE involved, with this, and
It will be a little bit unusual. We'll also have to take care with our facts because of there was correspondence between Key Rock and Mr. Lambert, who was a former director here. And we'll try to set all that out in our petition. We understand there's not going to be a meeting in March, but it's our hope that we have that submitted for your consideration in April.
we have all of the title finished and all of the mapping finished. We were asked a few questions. For example, how would we address the back payment of royalty? And so we're trying to get all that squared away prior to putting that in front of you.
Okay, no problem.
This is a CBM well, right?
It won't actually be a well per se, but yes, ma'am, it's coal bed methane. Yes, ma'am. And we just want to make sure, because of the unusual nature of it, there may be a lot of back and forth with staff. We want to make sure that we bring the board what you want for consideration.
Yeah, just to follow up with that, I know we've done several of these applications over the past couple of years. Have Key Rock or maybe the operators had any thoughts about possibly exploring field rules to go with these so that every one of these doesn't have to be brought in front of the board? These unit establishments, has anybody considered doing that? They save you all some time and effort.
That's certainly something, I don't know how their lawyer feels about that, but I'm sure Key Rock would appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's something I think you can work with the staff to come up with something there if it's feasible to do that.
Yes, sir.
We have a lot more of these. I don't know what the long-term plans for this are, but it seems like this is a lot of what we're dealing with here now.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Okay,
That's all we have. We appreciate the board's consideration today.
fine, thank you. Thank you for attending. Okay, we'll move on to the next petition. The petition is from Pocahontas Gas LLC for the disbursement of escrowed funds herefore deposited with the board's escrow agent. And that's attributable to track 1E as depicted upon the annex table. And 2, authorization to begin paying royalties directly to the parties to the royalty split agreement listed in the petition. The unit is W35, docket number VPOB 0324-0627-13. We'd ask all parties who wish to speak to this petition to please come forward.
Mark Schwartz and Kelly Berry.
Okay. Anyone else?
Don't think so.
You swear and or affirm that your testimony is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, I think there are no others present, so welcome to both of you all, and you go ahead, you may proceed.
Good morning.
Morning.
Kelly, would you state your name for the record, please?
Kelly Berry,
And who do you work for?
Pocahontas Gas LLC.
Okay. And are you appearing on behalf of Pocahontas Gas this morning?
Yes.
And I've got to get rid of my cat here. Hold on a second. There you go, bud. He will turn up from time to time. He's very interested in what's going on. This is a petition for disbursement, correct?
That's correct.
And have we previously had disbursements from this unit?
Yes, we have.
Okay, and we'll get into that eventually. The two requests here are to authorize a disbursement and then in some instances to authorize direct payment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The unit involved is what unit?
W35.
Okay, and if we look at your petition, you're indicating that we have a royalty split agreement between Hurt McGuire, now McGuire Hurt, I guess they've changed their name,
Yes.
and the Burks, correct?
That's correct.
And the prior owner was Daisy Burke, and apparently Joel and Brenda have stepped into her position.
Yes.
Okay. If we go to page, let's see here. Go to page 6 of your application. Before we do that, what did you do to tell people who would be interested in the outcome of this hearing today that we were going to have a hearing?
We mailed a copy of the petition by certified mail with returned receipt requested.
Now let's turn to page 6 of the application or petition. We have, as usual, we've got some tables or a table to give instructions to the escrow agent in terms of payment. And in this particular instance, we have a table 1 and a table 2, correct?
That's correct.
And why is that?
The property was deeded from Daisy Burke to Joel and Brenda Burke in 2020. So all funds held in escrow prior to that conveyance are now due to the heirs of Daisy Burke.
And the first table is at a pay an exact dollar amount, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And in that table, you have at the far right-hand column for each of the individuals or companies listed, you've set forth a specific dollar amount.
Yes.
Okay. And then if we turn to table 2, this is a percentage table, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And this pertains to the owners subsequent to this pertains to the new owners, Joel and Brenda.
Yes, that's correct.
And they're split with the McGuire Hurt heirs.
Yes.
And this is the split is what percentage?
It is a 50-50 split.
And then at the end of table 2, you've got some adjustment comments there. And are those the instructions that should be given to the escrow agent in the event that this application is approved?
Yes.
And could you summarize that for the record?
These
Those
instructions detail that the escrow agent is to deduct the amounts paid to the prior owners, which would be the heirs of Daisy Burke, from the current amounts due to the current owners, Joel and Brenda Burke, to arrive at the current amounts due.
Okay. And then there's also an adjustment that needs to be made with regard to the McGuire Hurt heirs, correct?
Yes.
And once those adjustments have been made, then the table 2 percentage can be paid.
Yes.
And have you indicated, or what are the wells that contributed to this escrow account?
W35A, W35B, and W35D.
Then you provided an exhibit E, which is a description of the interest that will remain in escrow in the event that this petition is approved.
That's correct.
And we can tell from the first bit of the heading on this exhibit that we're talking about 5 long wall panels.
Yes,
Okay. And then if we go to, page 28, I think, of the PDF, we've got, a summary of, I take that back, go back over here. Have you provided an exhibit double E, to demonstrate what the payments would be going forward? The direct payments would be going forward in the event this application is approved.
yes,
And that exhibit double E starts at page 12 of the PDF and continues on for a number of pages until we get to page 29, which is our exhibit J. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay. And in preparing for your application here, did you go back and retrieve all of the checks that the operator has paid over the years pertaining to this unit, and then compare those checks to the records of the escrow agent to determine whether or not they matched up?
Yes,
And is exhibit J your report in that regard?
yes, it is.
And the first page of exhibit J, which is page 29 of the PDF, has two entries identified in yellow.
Yes,
And that indicates that a check was cut for $824.89, but there's no corresponding deposit that you were able to locate.
that's correct.
Okay. And with regard to this exhibit J, and then we'll be talking about a couple of others this morning as well, if you've highlighted something in yellow, that indicates you found a difference that you were unable to account for, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Then as we go through these pages, we find at page 30, another entry, sort of in the middle of that page, in yellow, which indicates another issue with regard to a deposit that was made and no corresponding check that you could find.
yes,
And then we've got at the bottom of page 30, we've got some stuff in darker brackets, correct?
yes.
And when you do that, what does that indicate?
That indicates that the amounts appear to not align with each other, but when you add them together, the deposits match each other on both sides.
Okay. And that would be true as we go forward in the next couple of docket items as well. If you've got something that looks odd, but you can reconcile, you outline it in a darker black border.
Yes,
And as we get to the end here, have you provided some calculations that you've made to try and compare, or for the purpose of comparing your internal calculations with regard to the potential balance to the October 2023 First Bank and Trust balance?
yes,
And you indicate you've got your first entry is the total that the operator has deposited,
yes,
and then you account for disbursements, quite a number of them, projected or interested fees that you were able to capture from the bank's records, and you come up with a total, and then when you compare that total to the October balance, is there a difference?
there is.
And what's the difference?
First Bank and Trust shows $215.42 more than our deposits can account for.
Okay. And I believe, Mr. Chairman, that's all we have with regard to this petition.
Okay, thank you. Questions from board members? Okay, I guess the board, and you have nothing else, Mr. Schwartz, is that it?
Correct. That's what we wanted to present.
Okay, the board operates on a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, fine. Any further discussion before we take a vote? Okay, would you poll the board for that motion?
Mrs. Whalen,
Yes.
Mrs. Surratt,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Jansen,
Yes.
Mr. Cochran,
Yes.
Mr. Prather,
Yes,
and Mr. Ratliff.
Yes.
Fine, that petition has passed, so we'll move on to the next item, and that's item number 7 on your list. Petition from Pocahontas Gas LLC for one, the disbursement of escrowed funds heretofore deposited with the board's escrow agent. I don't know if I need, well, attributable to portions of track 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D, 2F, 2G, 2H, to I, to J, to K, to L, portions of, well, several listed, and we'll give to the docket number here in a second. 2, to authorization to begin paying royalties. 3, to dismiss or the dismissal of co-owners. And the docket number, and that's in unit R49. The docket number is VGOB 09-0317-2487-03. We'd ask all parties who wish to speak to this petition to please come forward.
Mark Schwartz and Kelly Berry.
Fine, and the record will show there are no others, so you may proceed.
Thank you. I think the record should also indicate that Kelly has previously been sworn.
Yes, okay, the record will reflect that.
Kelly, could you state your name again for the record, please?
Kelly Berry,
And who do you work for?
Pocahontas Gas LLC.
And are you here on behalf of Pocahontas Gas today, who is the petitioner on this application?
Yes,
Okay. And in this one, we actually have all three of the things that we normally ask for. We're requesting a disbursement from escrow, which we'll have some tables to talk about. We're talking about requesting that the folks, that some folks be authorized to receive direct payments. And lastly, we're going to talk about a dismissal of some coal interests, correct?
that's correct.
Okay. In part, we are talking about disbursements based on a split agreement. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and then we've got a long list of names of people that we are requesting disbursements to under the Gas and Oil Act because they're coal owner, or I'm sorry, they're gas owners, correct?
That's correct.
And then number 3 is a dismissal of a dismissal of Hurt McGuire's or McGuire Hertz, because they've had 2 names, coal interests to the extent that they do not have split agreements, correct?
That is correct.
So this is one of those situations where the coal owners were able to negotiate split agreements with some of the gas owners, but not all of them. And to the extent they have agreements, we've got a 50-50 split agreement, and Hurt McGuire receives a payment. To the extent they did not reach agreements, they are being dismissed from the unit and the gas owners are being paid under the act. That's a summary of where we're headed, correct?
Yes.
What did you do to notify all of these folks that we would be having a hearing today?
We mailed a copy of the petition by certified mail with return receipt requested.
Okay, and have you also in the past mailed a notice to the coal owner, Hurt McGuire Hurt, that you were requesting that they produce evidence of agreements within 45 days of the notice to preserve their potential claim?
Yes.
And I think the very last item on this application is, well, there's actually at page 81 of the application, you've got a signed receipt for a letter that you sent to Hurt McGuire notifying them of their obligation to produce evidence.
Yes.
And then you've got a copy of the form letter that was sent to them as
Yes.
the last page 82.
Yes.
Other than the split agreements that they produced, which will be addressed in the tables, all of the other folks, the other gas claimants, have not entered into split agreements. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Got a table 1 at page 9 of the application, right?
yes.
And we have a table 2 in the next page, but let's talk about table 1 first. This is an exact dollar payment,
That is correct.
and there are 2 folks that would be receiving the payments,
Yes,
and you provided their names and addresses.
yes.
And then on the very right-hand column, the dollar amounts they're to receive.
Yes.
And why do we have a exact dollar amount, table 1 here?
These folks are prior owners who have, who deeded their interests in May of 2013.
Okay, so this squares the accounts with them, and this should be paid before we move to table 2 to pay on a percentage basis.
Yes,
Okay. Moving to table 2, which is quite lengthy, correct?
it is.
Okay. But in table 2, this is a list of all of the gas claimants that we previously talked about. And you're giving their names and their addresses and the percentage that of their interest. They're not subject to a split, so you're showing 100% for each one of these folks as a directive to the escrow agent to cut these checks.
Yes.
Okay, and if we keep going to the very end here of table 2, let's see what page that is.
Page number 44.
Okay, at page 44, you've got some adjustment comments, which we've already talked about. And you've identified the wells that contributed to this escrow account, correct?
Yes.
You have provided at page, I guess it's 40, starting at page 46, an exhibit E, and that's a list of the interests that would remain in escrow in the event that this petition is approved.
Yes.
And then eventually we'll get to an exhibit double E. I gotta find that. Looks like that starts at page 58. And exhibit double E would be an updated exhibit that shows the going forward payments that could be made directly by the operator in the event, again, that this petition is approved.
Yes.
Okay. And then starting at page 76, we have an exhibit J.
Yes.
And once again, did you go back and identify all of the checks that the operator shows it paid pertaining to royalties and production from Unit R49 over the years? And also then compared those checks or looked for corresponding deposits from the escrow agent records, compared them to see if there were any differences. Is that a fair statement of what you did?
Yes.
And once again, at the very first page, we've got a difference where there's deposits, 2 deposits, and no corresponding check.
That's correct.
Okay. As we work our way through the pages here, there aren't very many. That's the only discrepancy until we get to sort of a discussion at the very end where you've done your balance calculation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. There's a comment, total deposited. Could you read that into the record and then tell us what happened there?
Sure. This unit was repooled, and prior to repooling of this unit, escrow payments to First Bank and Trust were placed on hold. once the repooling was completed and the updated acreages were taken into account, we made a deposit, which is not reflected on the Exhibit J because it was prepared prior to the deposit being made. But a deposit was made in November of 2023 of $13,720.77 to fully fund the escrow account prior to a disbursement taking place.
Okay. And when was the unit repooled? Was it the fall of?
It was in I believe it was in late 2022.
Okay. Okay. And when you take obviously the deposit adjustment, interest and fees, you come up with a total. Your calculation, you've got it again in October of 2023 First Bank and Trust balance. And when you compare those amounts, is there a difference?
Yes, First Bank and Trust balance is $89.19 more than our accounting of checks.
And you've testified that the deposit was made in November and the bank comparison that you did was in October. So that's why that deposit does not appear here.
That's correct.
And we've already talked about the notice to the coal owner and the return receipt card and so forth, which is the last of the exhibits here. I think, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have with regard to this unit.
Okay, questions from members of the board?
Does this petition allow this account to be closed, or will still be additional things that will be held in escrow?
We have
It's
additional owners who have not yet submitted W-9s, and so there will be an additional need for escrow.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, the board operates on a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Gilman, would you poll the board, please?
Mrs. Quillen,
Yes.
Mrs. Surratt,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Jensen,
Yes.
Mr. Cochran,
Yes.
Mr. Prather,
Yes.
and Mr. Allen.
Abstain.
Okay, that motion passed, and so that petition has been approved. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. It's a petition from Pocahontas Gas LLC for a refund of escrow payments heretofore deposited with the board's escrow agent, reimbursed overpayment of funds deposited with the board's escrow agent in ERA attributable to unit VP8 SGU3 to Pocahontas Gas LLC. Docket number is VGOB 06-0321-1598-04. We'd ask all parties who wish to speak to this petition to please come forward.
Mark Swartz and Kelly Berry.
Fine. I believe those are the only two, so you may proceed.
Thank you. Kelly, would you state your name for us?
Kelly Berry?
Have you been previously sworn?
Yes.
And that happened today, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Who do you work for?
Pocahontas Gas LLC.
And are you here on behalf of Pocahontas Gas, the petitioner, in support this miscellaneous petition?
Yes.
What did you do to notify folks we were going to have a hearing today?
There was a notice in publication.
Okay. And this is kind of I'll let you tell the board why, and then we'll go to the map and the document. Why are we here on this petition today?
We are here on this petition today because we have discovered that funds have been deposited into the escrow account for VP8 SGU3 that were attributable to wells that are not located within the boundary of VP8 SGU3. And therefore, we are asking that those funds be reimbursed to Pocahontas Gas LLC to be distributed to the appropriate owners in those individual frac units.
Okay. And to sort of see what you're talking about, if you all can look at the map at page 2 of the application, you will see a portion of a longwall mine. You've got some at the very top of the map. You've got an indication of a longwall panel that was mined. And then you've got some entries and some mining in the first full panels below the north boundary. And around the mining, the mine map, you can see a blue line. And that blue line, is that in fact the boundary of the sealed gob unit?
Yes, that is on the south side of the VP8 SGU3 boundary. Yes.
Okay. And so it's clear. And then have you put circles around 5 wells, correct?
Yes.
And those wells are in 2 frac units?
Yes, that would be Z10 and Z11.
Are those Oakwood units?
Yes.
Okay, and the intent here is to retrieve the funds from the sealed gob unit and then divide them appropriately between Z10 owners and Z11 owners in those 2 frac units and apportion the production and revenue accordingly.
That's correct.
And then we've got quite a collection of calculations because we had to go back in time to recalculate all of this, reallocate the production and the dollar amounts. So starting at page 3, you provided us with essentially the recalculation. And to simplify matters, if we go to the very last page of this application, I think it's page 20, PDF page 20, you have provided a summary of the funds paid in error, which is a summary of the preceding pages, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you have, in fact, summarized the subtotals in effect for each of the 5 wells.
Yes.
And you report a total to be refunded of what amount?
$32,040.73.
Then you will, as we've indicated, reallocate to Unit Z10 and Unit Z11.
Yes.
I think that's all we have on this, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me. Questions from board members?
Just so that, make sure I understand what I'm looking at here, on your summary on page, let me get back down to the summary.
I can explain ahead of that also. I'm not sure what your question will be, but to explain why we have it broken up into 3 groups of sales dates, that is because we had 3 different accounting systems during the time period when these wells paid into the sealed gob unit in error. So we had to retrieve the funds for each well from 3 different accounting systems.
Okay, that's part of my question. The
Okay.
sales date, the June 2006 to 2012, none of those dates show up in the prior summaries of all the dates. It looks like it starts in 2010 or something.
I submitted 3 separate, there should be a separate summary there should be separate detail for each time period, I should say. I submitted separate detail for each time period. It looks like there could be the 2006 time period is missing from what was uploaded.
Yeah, that's what I don't see. I don't see anything other than it starts at 2012. That's what was confusing to me.
Yeah.
Okay, but we think we have those there. We have all the pages. You'll confirm that you have all the detail that goes with that. And then the other question, just, this is semantics probably at the end. Since this is something that traces back to 2006, it looks like. I guess there's been royalty, or I guess there's been interest paid on all these payments over the years, but you're not requesting those. You didn't try to figure out what that interest might have been and
No,
carry that forward to pay out to whoever the new owners are, so.
no, we are strictly requesting that the royalty paid into the account be paid back out.
So any interest will just stay with this account and be distributed
Yes.
going forward to those people.
Yes,
But, okay. And if I understand that you have owners who have not been paid on these 5 individual wells since going back to 2006, or have you been paying them separately all this time, and that's how you caught the error?
yes,
Okay, so there's really no, these people aren't going to get a check. You've reconciled those people already, that's the way I understand it.
they would, yes, they will receive their portion, each proportionate share of these funds, yes.
Okay, so they will get from this reimbursement? Okay,
Yes, yes. Mhm.
okay.
Well, I'm a little confused then, so there won't be
We-
people that. Excuse me, were you gonna say something else?
Yes, these wells were disconnected, so to speak, from the division of interest for the Seal Gob unit back in May of 2023 and set up to pay on their own individual frac DOIs. So we already have the ownership and allocations in place to be able to distribute these funds once they are returned.
So in essence, you're saying that the revenue since, well, starting in May of 2023 and going forward, that revenue is not reported here, but that will also be paid to the owners in C10 and C11, along with the $32,040.73, or in addition to.
Yes.
I guess my concern is, and I'm just trying to wander through the numbers. We haven't incorrectly paid people that we're asking money back from. I haven't said that correctly, but you know what I'm saying? In other words, we don't have $32,000 worth of payments we've given to people that should not have received that 32,000.
We do, yes, and those funds are being recouped internally from the Seal Gob unit owners.
I'm still a little confused. So if I receive $10,000 since 2006, then you're asking me to return that $10,000. Is that right?
No, no,
You'll recoup it going forward on future payments? Is that the way it
Yes.
typically works?
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I have it down.
that is correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering how that is done.
Yes.
Any other questions or discussions? Mr. Swartz, anything else? Or Ms. Berry?
Just to sort of summarize that because the Seal Gob unit continues to produce, we have an opportunity to recoup those funds over, future payments, Mr. Chairman. Sometimes it happens that the unit where the mistake was made is not continuing to produce or doesn't produce sufficient funds to enable us to do that. And in those instances, which have occurred in the past, the operator just winds up not recovering those funds.
Yes,
I mean,
okay,
we don't sue people for that,
Yeah, that was why I had to question that, but I understand now, since it's still producing, then going forward, you can make those adjustments or whatever, yeah,
Correct.
okay. Any questions or further questions from the board?
Just one.
Yes,
comment. I mean,
sure.
we have, over the years, we have seen these not intentional little hiccups And we have never gone back to those people that were paid and shouldn't have been. As long as the, well is still producing, is that correct?
That's my belief.
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember a case where we've gone back and said, hey, you need to pay us $10,000 back, but that was my question. If,
No, I mean, I can remember because we have had some follow-ups over many years that, not often, but never, and that I can, in my memory, have we ever not made that right
yeah,
for those folks? Because, I mean, people get $10,000. I mean, they have, you know, and over a period of time, and this goes back to
Yeah.
2012, is that right?
well, 2006, it was like, yeah,
2006, right?
Yeah. yeah, that's why I had a
But
question.
again, you know,
Well, that one thing to bear in mind too, that, you know, we have a sealed gob unit here, which is a huge unit. And this $32,000 is going to have a very small effect on the overall history of that unit. Okay, this isn't like we had one well and we've got a $32,000 difference. We've got, you know, a sealed gob unit with pretty significant production and revenues over the years, so that the order of magnitude is not enormous. I mean, it's $32,000. I mean, that's a lot of money, but in the context, it's not going to have a huge effect on any individual.
and I think that's the message that we want the public to know.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
given the size of this unit as a well over 3,000 acre unit, and this
Right.
still leaves well over $400,000 in the escrow account as well to be paid out.
That's why, you know, we just want this on the record that it's
Yes,
not going to be penalized, because that's the first thing the public's going to jump on is, oh, these people, they made a mistake and now they're foreclosing on their property or whatever, you know.
That's not going to happen.
When there's no
No.
truth to it, but you know how people love to badmouth the industry,
we do.
unfortunately.
Okay, well, that was one of the reasons I asked the question. I thought going forward, what's going to happen if somebody were to be overpaid, that, you know, how that works out. Yes, okay, but I think you will have sufficiently answered that. Okay, any,
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you all.
okay, anything further? We do need to take an action on this.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. And we do have a second. Ms. Gilman, if you will poll the board, please.
Mrs. Quillen,
Yes.
Mrs. Surratt,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Jansen,
Yes.
Mr. Cochran,
Yes.
Mr. Prather,
Yes.
and Mr. Ratliff.
Yes.
Okay, that petition has been approved. Okay, so we move on, the petition from Intervest Operating LLC for pooling. Unit is VC 538372. I believe I've called that right. Docket number is VGOB 0815-4269. We'd ask all parties who wish to speak to this item to please come forward.
It'd be Tim Scott, Larry Reeves, and Jim Ayers for Intervest Operating LLC.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Scott. And anyone else? Fine, the record will show that there's no one else, so Mr. Scott, you may proceed.
Ms. Gilmer, you going to swear these fellows in?
Yes, sir. Mr. Reeves, Mr. Ayers, do you swear and affirm their testimony is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Yes.
Oh. I guess you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Reeves, please state your name, by whom you're employed, your job description,
Larry Reeves, employed by Intervest Operating as a landman.
and you're familiar with this application, is that correct?
Yes,
And did you also participate in the preparation of this application?
yes, I did.
And this unit is located in the Norcolbet gas field,
It is
and how many acres does it contain?
58.77 acres.
And with regard to the lease position for this particular unit, Intervest is a mineral owner in this unit, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Are there any parties respondent listed on Exhibit B3 that we're going to dismiss today?
No,
And for those parties listed on Exhibit B3, how was notice provided to those parties of this hearing today?
they were notified by certified mail, return receipt requested, and the Dickens and publication in Dickinson Star.
So do we have any unknown owners in this unit?
Yes,
And are you continuing to try to locate those individuals?
we are.
Okay. So your efforts are ongoing, is that right?
That is correct.
And have you provided proof of mailing and publication to the board?
Yes, we have.
And we do not have an escrow requirement for this unit, is that right?
No escrow.
Okay. Intervest is authorized to conduct business in the Commonwealth, is that correct?
Correct.
And there's a blanket bond on file, is that also correct?
Yes.
And if you were able to reach an agreement with the parties listed on Exhibit B3, what terms would you offer for a lease for this particular unit?
$5 per year per acre for a 5-year paid-up lease at 1/8 royalty.
And do you believe this is sufficient compensation for a lease in this area?
Yes, it is.
And what percentage of the gas estate does Intervest either have under lease or by ownership?
98.08750%.
And what percentage of the unit are you seeking to pool today?
1.912500%.
Okay. Are you also requesting that Intervest be named the operator for this unit?
Yes, sir.
And if the board grants our application today, where should any elections be made regarding this particular order?
To be sent to Intervest Operating LLC, 408 West Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210. Attention, Kevin Miller, Vice President Land.
Thank you. And should this be the address for all communications with Intervest regarding this, any pooling order entered by the board?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have for Mr. Reeves.
Questions from members of the board?
Just one question. This application, was it previously submitted to this board in September of 2023? Was it withdrawn at that time? Or I don't know what happened to it back then.
I think we had requested the docket number at that time to put it into the hearing, and we just hadn't got it submitted. So the numbers reflect that it would have been a September docket hearing.
Okay, so what, you don't think it was on the docket back in September before it was withdrawn, or?
No, sir.
I just want to make sure we weren't hearing something we'd already heard.
No. No, like I said, I think we just had requested the docket number then in hopes to get it submitted and just hadn't at that time.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris, please state your name, by whom you're employed, your job description.
James Ayers, Intervest Operating and Landman.
And are you familiar with the proposed depth of this well?
Yes,
And what would that be?
it's 2,100 feet.
And are you also familiar with the estimated reserves for this unit?
Yes,
And what would those be?
642 MMCF.
And you participate in the preparation of the AFE that we submitted with our application, is that right?
That's correct.
So you're familiar with the well cost?
Yes,
And what's the estimated dry hole cost for this unit?
it is $202,249,
And the estimated completed well cost?
$582,357.
And if the board grants our application today, would it prevent waste, promote conservation, and protect correlative rights?
Yes, it would.
Okay. That's all I have from Mr. Ayers.
Questions from members of the board? Okay, hearing none, you may continue.
That's all I have, Mr. Harris.
Okay, anything further from the board? Okay, the board will entertain a motion relative to this item. Okay, Ms. Gilman, would you poll the board, please?
Mrs. Quillen,
Yes.
Mrs. Surratt,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Jansen,
Yes.
Mr. Cochran,
Yes.
Mr. Prather,
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff,
Abstain.
Okay, the petition is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I believe that's it for our agenda for the petitions. So thanks to everyone there. Okay, let me make just a couple of notes. Okay, the next item, the board will receive an update of board and division activities from the staff.
We haven't had any petitions submitted for the March hearing, so we won't have a March meeting. And I also want to mention that the October board date is now going to be on October the 22nd instead of October the 15th. We had another meeting out of town that we have to attend, it, Brad and I, and we're just going to move that to October the 22nd, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I don't know about others, but yeah, that's fine.
That's all I have.
Okay. We'll move on. Item number 11, the board will review the November 2023 minutes for approval. Any discussion about the minutes? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion relative to those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion about that? Okay, all in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Fine, those minutes are approved. Okay, item number 12, the board will have a closed session meeting as directed by the Assistant Attorney General Jackson Brown. Mr. Brown, do you need to initiate that discussion, or how do we need to have a motion to go into closed session? I believe we do, don't we?
Yes, we do need a motion to go into closed session.
Okay, I'll entertain that motion.
Yeah, I make the motion that we move to a closed session.
Oh, okay, someone is, hang on.
Sorry, I was trying to speak, but I was
Eric?
muted. We have a resolution to go into closed session. If we could just make sure that we read through that resolution and adopt that resolution.
Okay, and
And Eric, this is Sarah. When do you want me to switch over to the closed session meeting?
Only after we've adopted that resolution.
Okay.
okay, now I don't have that resolution. I think a month ago we were. So,
Okay, Jackson, do you have a copy of the resolution?
Yeah, I have a copy. Do you want me to circulate it to Sarah real quick?
Sure, and you can just read it out loud, and that will also be
Yeah,
sufficient.
I'll read it out loud. So the Virginia Gas and Oil Board hereby resolves to discuss the following subject matter in closed session. This meeting will be a consultation on changes to a draft regulation regarding the appropriate procedure when the board is required to put funds for an unidentifiable or unlocatable party in escrow. This subject matter is exempted from open meeting requirements under the following provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, which would be Virginia Code 2.2-3711A8, consultation with legal counsel employed or attained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel.
okay, Mr. Jansen, I know you made a motion earlier that we go into closed session. Would you modify your motion to adopt that resolution to go into closed session?
Yes, I'll modify that to accept the resolution that we just read into the record.
Fine, is that appropriate, folks? With the appropriate second? Do we have an appropriate second?
Second.
Fine, we do. All in favor of that? Say yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
Yes.
No? Fine. So, the board will move into a closed session. And I think at this time, do we close out the standard board meeting and the recording thereof, and then we enter, okay, so the standard board meeting is now closed.